Joining us is Margie Natalie, a former teacher and a very accomplished pilot, as we can see by your jacket, Margie. Margie's going to help us talk about some of the things that the Wright brothers had to deal with as they invented their plane. Oftentimes when we talk about planes, the word aerodynamics keeps coming up. What is aerodynamics?
Well, aerodynamics is a very big word for a very simple concept. Aerodynamics is the way air interacts with an object and the way the object interacts with the air. So the way the air hits an airplane or something like that.
All right, so when a student goes out for recess, for example, and the wind hits the student, aerodynamics is a study of how the wind hits that student, basically.
Pretty much, and students aren't very aerodynamic. The wind kind of hits them full on.
And something like a plane would be because it has more of a narrow nose.
Yes, if you look at airplanes and they're thinner in the front than they are in the back, and the air plays with that. They design them to be more aerodynamic.
So speaking of planes, there are what's called the four forces of flight that the Wright brothers had to deal with. What are those forces?
Yes, well, we talk about forces of flight, and those are the forces that act upon the aircraft. We have lift that brings the aircraft up.
Okay, so the air is coming under the plane and lifts it up. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and obviously we need lift, otherwise we'd just be driving around on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And weight pulls the aircraft down, so we need to balance the lift and weight so we stay in the air. Then we have thrust, which brings the airplane forward, and drag is the force that opposes that thrust. It slows the aircraft down.
Okay.
It's the air on the wings and the fuselage, and the old airplanes had the wires, and that caused a lot of drag, held it back.
Well, let me see if I have this right. So lift is what picks the plane up, the
Yes.
wind coming underneath it, and then weight brings it down, and then thrust makes the plane go forward, as we see in our video there, and drag is what kind of slows the plane down. Those are the four forces.
That's correct. You've got it, Kate.
Okay, so when I'm sitting in the car in the passenger seat and I got my hand stuck out the window, I'm feeling, that's aerodynamics.
That's aerodynamics. There's aerodynamics acting on your hand. Not very safe. Having your hand out the window, and I don't recommend it.
Don't be doing it at home.
Don't do it at home. But
my hand makes the drag.
Yeah, and if you have your hand flat to the wind, you're going to feel more force pulling your arm back. And if you turn your hand forward, you cut that drag.
Okay, and so the Wright brothers, when they made their plane, they really had to deal with all four of those forces to make the plane go.
That's right. Everything that flies has to deal with the four forces of flight.
All right.